say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? All right, thank you for your response. Nice to know there's always someone on the other end of this transmission. First and foremost, as always, we will extend to you our deep appreciation for the co-creation of this interaction. For each and every time you allow us to interact with your civilization in this way, through these communications, it affords us an opportunity to learn through each and every one of you individually and all of you together collectively that many more perspectives that exist within creation. So we thank you for expanding our understanding of all the ways that creation can present itself within existence. We would now like to begin with the topic of this transmission, as has been discussed, that we will call Message for Japan. The idea, of course, is that many of you know that as you live in physical reality, there will be certain circumstances, certain situations, certain experiences that can and will occur that may involve what you have described in your earth human language, catastrophic results, disastrous results, but which can also, from a different perspective, yield many deep understandings in a positive and constructive way that will allow you to learn from these experiences how to move forward in your reality in a manner that is more conducive to the kind of world, the kind of reality experience you say you prefer. In short, anything can be learned in a positive context from any kind of an experience at all, including those that you may have labeled disastrous. For they are only experiences as far as the soul is concerned, as far as the spirit is concerned. They are all capable of being added to the overall understanding, the overall growth of the spirit and the soul. This does not in any way, shape, or form mean to diminish the experience as experienced by the physical personality. We understand all too well the idea that there is suffering on your planet. Nevertheless, many times, individuals and groups on your planet will attract themselves to or attract to themselves the idea of such experiences that contain the idea of hardship and suffering in order to have the opportunity to teach, to learn, to grow, to choose. Again, the idea is that from the soul perspective, from the soul and spirit point of view, this can only add to the ability to strengthen, to clarify, to delineate, to discern more clearly what it is you wish your world to be. So, specifically with regard to that area on your planet that has now experienced this particular natural occurrence, compounded with the idea of technological consequences as well, we would like to discuss 3 particular areas that are reflective and representative of what can be gleaned from this event. There are, of course, many more experiences other than just 3. Many more ideas other than just 3. But this can start you off in understanding how it is we view these kinds of experiences. And you can decide, if you so desire, if you so choose, to incorporate this kind of perspective, this kind of understanding in your own point of view with respect to these kinds of events as they may happen to others on your planet or even to yourself, as you may or may not find yourself in similar circumstances in your upcoming months and years, depending upon where you are on your planet and what it is you have chosen to attract to yourselves with the energy that you are giving off, based on whatever you believe, whether positively or negatively, to be most likely, most probable, most true for you, or what you believe you need to experience to allow you to decide, to allow you to change, to allow you to discern what path you wish to walk on your planet and how you wish your world to be. The first way, the first context in which this event can be viewed is that as a culture, what you call the Japanese nation has for quite some time on your planet, historically speaking, as you count these things, as you count these years, been relatively isolated unto itself, relatively self-contained as a culture, and even in what you would call recent years, has maintained a perspective to some degree of keeping to themselves, of creating certain kinds of sociological, political barriers, lines, borders, with respect to how they interact with the rest of the globe. We are not in any way, shape, or form saying this is a negative thing. It is just part and parcel of the experience they have chosen as a culture to remain, in a sense, highly focused within their culture, highly unified within their culture, in a kind of group mind focus with relatively little focus on the idea of individuality, although this has been changing in recent years. Nevertheless, the idea of having now allowed themselves to choose to have this kind of an experience, which they have known for some time could happen, has begun to break down these sociological structures, these borders, these barriers, by allowing them to experience a need to rely on the globe for support, and be capable thus then of seeing the outpouring of support that they have received, that other people around your planet are willing to share with them, willing to give to them freely, with love. This will have the effect of beginning to allow many of them that have been of a mentality of isolationism and withdrawal to begin to see that you are all connected to everyone else, that you are one family, regardless of your differences, and in fact, sometimes even because of them. For any relationship is not really measured so much by the similarities that make you compatible, but whether or not you can allow your differences to be compatible as well. Thus, they are learning in this experience that they can reach out, that they do not have to fear the idea of interaction with other cultures, other societies, other ideas, other perspectives, other belief systems, that their culture can still maintain its uniqueness and its qualities without fear of dilution, while at the same time celebrating that uniqueness, reaching out simultaneously to the great diversity all around them, each its own expression of uniqueness, yet working hand in hand to support each other in times of need, in times of suffering, so that they can begin to let go of the old view, the old world view, that they really are cut off from the rest of the world. That they now can know they are part of a global family that loves and respects them and is willing to help in time of need. The second idea that they are playing out, that they are experiencing, that they have chosen to experience on their soul path as a culture, is they are still, to date, the only culture on your planet that has actually experienced destruction by nuclear device. This has been within the context of their consciousness for many, many decades on your planet. They have never really let it go. Thus then, they have always had, since that destruction, since the experience of the utilization of atomic devices on their soil, in what you call your world war, they have had what you might call in your language a love-hate relationship with the idea of nuclear energy. So in moving forward to decide to utilize nuclear energy as their source of power in certain places in their nation, always as a companion walking that path has been the fear of that energy. Thus then they have now given themselves an opportunity to see that fear played out, to see what the idea of holding on to such fears can do, how it can come into play with the idea of working with the things that happen in nature to compound, magnify, and amplify the fears, and to cause the idea of outer reflective harm and destruction as representative and reflective of the inner fear, the inner belief that they have not really come to terms with yet within themselves. This is also thus then a sparkling opportunity for them to realize that they have now come full circle with this idea, that they do not have to fear such ideas, and in letting them go can open themselves up to other ideas, other ways, which brings us to the third context, which means that now not only can they, but the rest of you on your planet, as many of you now have made your own assessment of, recognize that the way you have designed your nuclear technology is not at this point safe. And thus then, by seeing clearly, once again, for this isn't the first time, but on this scale clearly, the damage that can be caused should something go awry, you can now begin, as many of you have begun to do, start a dialogue on your planet with whether or not that's the technology you really wish to continue to use. Because it has shown you very clearly what can happen and how it can amplify and magnify the disastrous aspects of these natural occurrences. You all have known that this could happen. Yet you have all decided, many of you, to move forward with these kinds of technologies. Now you can see by example, by this culture being willing to act as the example, even at what it costs them, to act as the example, that this is not necessarily a direction in your best interests technologically. You can now come together in dialogue and decide that there can be other ways that do not negatively impact, that do not negatively reflect the negative beliefs within you, that you can explore together new ideas and new understandings, well, really old ones, but ones that you have ignored for many, many generations. There have been from time to time on your planet many individuals who've understood that there are other ways to tap into energy in the universe, to tap into the energy of your planet. But you have made your decisions in creating your sociological and political systems to allow individuals with what you would call vested interests to, in a sense, decide for you what shall be done. But now you can see that this gives you an opportunity to empower yourselves as individuals and as groups, to open dialogues and to discuss now what can be done in other directions to serve the greater good of the total population of your world. So this can be used as one beginning marker, one beginning event to start, as you say, the ball rolling on a series of understandings and unfoldments and dialogues in a new perspective, a new context for what is possible on your world. Because as we have said many times, the way that many of you have gone about deciding what it is you do prefer is by giving yourself an absolutely clear demonstration of what you don't prefer, thus rendering in black and white terms your choices, so that there will be no ambiguity from that point forward. You can now see by example what can occur through the utilization of the choices that have been made. And you can send your gratitude, appreciation, and thanks to that Japanese culture that was willing to allow themselves to be an example, even at the cost that they have endured to begin those awakenings, to begin those dialogues, to move forward on your planet in ways that are more reflective of what you have said for many generations you would prefer your planet to be, but now can take real steps toward the manifestation, toward the actions necessary to allow for the manifestation of that reality that has always been around you, but which is invisible to you until you take such actions as to render it visible, the reality you prefer. Allow yourselves an opportunity to take a moment now to relax and close your eyes, if you wish, and take a deep breath in. And as you take that deep breath in, allow yourselves to remember that you're all breathing the same air, everywhere, all of you. There is only one atmosphere on your world. You all breathe the same atmosphere, no matter how far away from anything you may think you are. You are all connected in that way, and in many other ways. So as you breathe in deeply now, allow yourselves to feel the connection to those in Japan, to those in all the other nations of your world, all that share the same air. Feel that connection as you breathe in and out, as you breathe together. For is that not the meaning of the word in your language, to conspire, to breathe together? So conspire together to create the world of your dreams rather than the world of your nightmares. Breathe together as one. And the breath of all will support the breath of each. So each can be a manifestation of their dreams. And in each being allowed to be the unique individual that you are, will support the totality of the whole picture, so that all may share in what each has to give. Be of help to each other. Take action for each other. And you will allow, you will reflect, you will represent the ability to make manifest and make visible the world that you prefer, that is right here and right now, but is invisible to your senses until such time as you are an example of the vibration of that reality. Wakarimasu ka? Do you understand? We will perhaps discuss more aspects of this in time as things unfold. For there are chains of consequences that are not over yet. Many more things will unfold that have, in that sense, been triggered by this event around your planet, here and there. But we simply urge you and suggest to you that when you see these things or experience these kinds of events, that you do not at first, though you may recognize the suffering, though you may recognize the idea of things breaking down, breaking apart, that you do not at first assume to put negative meaning into these things. For this is simply the way you have decided to wake yourselves up, to shake yourselves awake. It does not have to be that way. But in that you have, for many generations, resisted the idea of your natural selves. Thus then, you will find some way to get your attention, to bring your attention into focus, to bring your attention to the matters at hand that require your attention, that require your action, that require your vibration be higher, so that you can allow yourselves to live the reality you say you wish to live. As these things unfold, know you are not alone. You are never alone. You are never isolated. For all is one. Even as it expresses itself through individuals, all is one. And if you allow yourselves to put in the positive meaning to all events, then the synchronicity that you will create will be able of, in a sense, showing you, reflecting to you, demonstrating to you that all things can come together in an easy and effortless way, and that you do not require the idea of disasters to get your attention. But as long as there is fear in your hearts, negative beliefs within your personality structure that you are afraid to look at, that you resist looking at, resist transforming, so too will the idea of events continue to get your attention, to shake yourselves awake, until such time as you finally realize what the message is you are attempting to deliver to yourselves. So we suggest that you wake up now. Wake up and live the dream instead of just dreaming it and hoping that one day it might come to pass. Take action now and allow the dream to manifest. For it isn't that you make these things happen, it is that you allow the thing that already exists to become visible through your actions. We thank you for allowing us at this time to point out to you that your world is growing, as you say in your language, smaller and smaller every day. And as in that sense it grows smaller, you become larger and larger and larger in frequency, and thus begin to approach the ability to have more contact, not only with us and other beings from other worlds, but more contact within yourselves, to all levels of your consciousness that you have created within yourselves, that you have compartmentalized within yourselves. We will be addressing some degree of this compartmentalization of consciousness in the personality structure in what you call tomorrow night's transmission. And so continue this idea of how to get in touch with the barriers that you have created even within your own consciousness that are represented by the barriers in the outer world, and how to dissolve them in such a manner as to function again as a unified whole while sacrificing none of your individuality, in fact enhancing it to a greater degree. For the whole, in that sense, is the result of the validation of all the parts. The full validation of all the parts that automatically work together harmoniously when you allow them to. All of this can come from these kinds of events. All of this understanding can be had